Middle Path Radio, your number one online Islamic talk station.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen, wassalatu wassalamu ala ashrafil anbiya al-mursaleen, nabiyyina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in, amma ba'd. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, dearest brothers and sisters. I can't see the brothers behind this pillar. I don't know if they're purposely sitting there or... Don't worry, I won't ask any difficult questions to you guys, inshallah. Jazakumullah khairan everyone for coming. Just a few minutes, inshallah, to share with you the experience that I had and the group that I went with had when visiting Palestine. We went, it's been a week and a bit now since come back. The trip was 7 days. And alhamdulillah, I have to say, it was one of the best trips of my life so far. It was very beneficial. I learned a lot and wanted to share with you what we experienced there. Also, there's a message for you all from a brother who's the director of the administration of zakat for Masjid al-Aqsa. He has a message for you all, for all Western Muslims. We'll listen to that inshallah towards the end. First and foremost, let's begin the journey itself. We were going to Palestine. Palestine, Jordan, Lebanon and Syria are part of what is known as Sham. And the Prophet ﷺ said in a hadith in Sunnah Tirmidhi, which Shaykh Bain rahimahullah said is authentic, Tuba lil-Sham, which can be translated as, how wonderful and blessed is the land of Sham. And then he was asked, why is that the case, O Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam? And he said, لِأَنَّ الْمَلَائِكَةِ الرَّحْمَنِ, because the angels of the incredibly merciful one, basitatun, that their wings are outspread over the lands of Sham. So the Prophet ﷺ was telling us that the entire area itself is a blessed one. And that's for many reasons. But Palestine in particular is super important and super blessed because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells in the Quran, Subhanalladhi asra bi'abdi laylan min al-masjid al-haram ila al-masjid al-aqsa alladhi barakna hawlahu. That glory be to the one who took his slave, the Prophet ﷺ, on a night journey from Masjid al-Haram in Makkah to Masjid al-Aqsa. There's only two masjids in the Quran that have been named, and that is Masjid al-Haram and Masjid al-Aqsa. He took him from there to there in a night journey, and then Allah said, Barakna hawlahu. That not only is the masjid blessed, but also that which is around it too is a blessed land. Blessings there. And the Prophet also told us to visit that place as well. So when we went there, one of the first encounters we had was at the airport, because there's only two ways to get into Palestine. There's only two ways to visit Palestine. One is through Jordan, the border of Jordan, and the second one is through Tel Aviv. Okay, this is the so-called capital of Israel. We went through Tel Aviv. Now, one thing we were told before we went is that expect to be stopped and to be questioned, to have to wait around. And so after the 4-hour, I think it was 4.5-hour journey, we landed and we saw that the airport was very, very busy. The reason because it was Easter. And so Jerusalem is a holy site not only to the Muslims but also to Jews and also to Christians as well. They have the single most important place for Christendom there, and it's called the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. Apparently the place that they say Isa alayhi-salam wal-'iyadu billah was crucified. Yeah, so for them this is a very holy place and they come to visit it in Easter. So the airport very busy. When we got out of the plane, we saw that we were told to go to one side. Our group was about 20 people and the waiting area was already overflowing with people. So we thought to ourselves, maybe we have to wait for a very long time. So we sat down and we had to wait around 4 hours. Each and every one of us was called and we asked some questions. These questions, very funny questions. The questions were, what is your name? What is your dad's name? What is your grandfather's name? Now I don't know about you, but in our culture we don't really know our grandfather's name by name. We just call him Dada, right? So because we were told we're going to be asked this question, we said, okay, what is our granddad's name? What is our great-granddad's name as well? Okay, so we went there prepared. I went with my brother as well. So they asked these questions and they asked, why are you here? He said, we're here in order to take over. No, astaghfirullah, we didn't say that. He said, we're here in order to do religious pilgrimage. Yes, religious pilgrimage. We're here to visit Masjid al-Aqsa. So they said, okay, do you know any Palestinians? So we didn't know any Palestinians. So we were wondering, why were they asking every single one of us, do you know any Palestinians? And even one brother, when they questioned him, they actually took his phone and they went through his contacts. They wanted to see if there was any Palestinian numbers in there. Reason being is because they are afraid that if you know a Palestinian or you're a Palestinian family, then you may cause trouble here. So alhamdulillah, none of us are coming for any other intention except to do a religious trip to see Masjid al-Aqsa. And so after about 4 hours, alhamdulillah, we left the airport, and you have to get a visa. They don't stamp your passport, they give you a card. They know that people don't want their passport is stamped by the Israeli stamp, and so they give you a card with the visa on instead. And then alhamdulillah, we left. By the time that we left and got to the hotel, it was past Isha. We missed the salah in the masjid, but because we really wanted to get to the masjid, we said around 11 o'clock when we reached the hotel, let us go and see how close we can get to the masjid. So this is the first slide here. When you arrive there, you see that things are not as you imagined. Because when you go there, you may be thinking about Makkah and Medina, and you can go to the hotel and it's 5-star, and mashallah, you just walk out and there's the haram, and alhamdulillah, no need to catch a taxi or anything. It's not like that. So you have what's called Old Jerusalem, and then inside Old Jerusalem you have Masjid al-Aqsa. Old Jerusalem is basically the old part of the city which has been walled off. It has massive walls that are about 40 feet high. And inside that you have Masjid al-Aqsa, but you also have inside it many other religious sites as well for Jews and for Christians as well. So if you have a look on the slide here, I have some gadgets to use here. So this is the old city. This walled part of the city, inside is called the old city, was built by an Uthmani Khalifa. His name was Suleiman Mehmed, and he's the one who built it in order to protect the city. So inside it, we find that today it's been divided into 4 quarters. You have the Muslim quarter, which is at the top here. Can you see it there? Muslim quarter. Then you have the Christian quarter, and strangely enough, you have the Armenian quarter as well, which also belongs to Christians, but Christians of Eastern Christendom. And then you have the Jewish quarter. Now you can see the Jewish quarter is right next to the Western Wall, which they call the Wailing Wall. So when you get inside the city, we were in a hotel in the Muslim quarter outside of the old city, around about here. It was called the Funduk Watani, the National Hotel. Surprisingly, subhanAllah, there's only 3 Muslim hotels in the whole of Jerusalem. Only 3. And that in of itself is a sign that for Muslims it's very difficult to do business in Jerusalem. Okay, there's only 3. One of them is the one we stayed in, which is outside, and there's 2 more inside the old city. One of them is called Funduk Hashimi, and the other one is called the Hotel of the Holy Land. They're owned by Muslims, but there's only 2 out of the 3 that don't serve alcohol. So even your choices are narrowed down further. And the National Hotel, they don't serve alcohol, and Funduk Hashimi, the Hotel Hashimi, is another one that doesn't serve alcohol either. I'll show you a picture. From the roof of that hotel, you have an amazing view of the Masjid al-Aqsa. We'll have a look at that inshallah. So when you get inside, we only got at night time to the outside of the old city, so we only saw the walls. The walls look amazing anyway. They're huge, and they look medieval. So much history there, and you see the gates as well. The old city has 7 gates which are active, as in people go in and out of them. There's supposed to be 11 altogether, and one of them is called the Golden Gate. I think the Golden Gate is somewhere at the bottom over here. It's been closed off. Now, once you get inside the old city, what you find is the way to the Masjid Aqsa is almost like a maze. When they say old city, that's what they mean. Old city. So you go in tiny alleys, and there's homes on either side and tiny shops, and there's, it's like a labyrinth basically. You have to find your way to the masjid. Funnily enough, there's no signs to get to the masjid. And there's so many alleyways that even though once you get to the masjid, you can see hundreds of people, sometimes you can be walking to the masjid and you're just by yourself. From coming into the gate to the old city all the way to the masjid, literally could be by yourself because there's so many tiny alleyways to get there. So we couldn't get inside at night time, and they lock it, and also usually outside every single gate there's Israeli soldiers as well. And they're not just standing outside the gates, they're standing outside the gates with massive guns. And this is, subhanAllah, just the way they position themselves with guns. Everywhere you go, you'll see them and they're all wearing bulletproof vests, and they're all wearing with the massive machine guns as well. At Fajr time, alhamdulillah, we got inside. We went through the gates, went past Israeli soldiers, made our way down to this gate to the masjid. Now the masjid itself has a wall around it, and it has around 14 different gates leading into the masjid itself. This Masjid Al-Aqsa, the whole rectangular site there, is huge. It is 144,000 square meters. Okay, it's massive. You can fit altogether 500,000 people inside it. 500,000 people. So when you get inside, you're not really inside. You got to walk down here, up the steps to the Dome of the Rock, which is an absolutely amazing sight. We'll show you a picture of that. And then past the Dome of the Rock, down the steps again to right at the bottom, the southernmost part, which is known as Masjid Al-Qibli. What does this mean? It means that the whole site is a masjid, but then they built prayer halls, 2 prayer halls. One is the masjid, this Dome of the Rock, which you can pray inside there. They have their own salah there. And then further down they have the Masjid Qibli, which is the big prayer hall, which many of you have seen as well. And so this is the masjid itself. Once you get inside, the first thing you notice is a sense of peace and tranquility. Wallahi, this is something I felt every single time I entered inside the masjid. You feel so much peace and tranquility. And you see loads of olive trees planted everywhere around. And you see people having picnics and families having picnics under the olive trees. Then you move further in and you see, we saw a sign, very funny sign. It said, oh man of business, for you is the marketplace of the dunya. For this is the marketplace of the akhirah. Very polite sign telling people don't do business inside the masjid. You want to do business? Take yourself outside. Inside, you walk across, you get to the Dome of the Rock, and then across down the stairs, then you can get to the masjid like this. Now, the Imam of the masjid gave us a tour of the whole Aqsa site. You'll be amazed that you can spend more than a day exploring the masjid. More than a day. There's that much to see. One of the things he showed us was that there were wells inside the masjid. 27 wells inside the masjid. And this was built in order to facilitate people come to the masjid not having to go outside for water, doing wudu and so on and so forth. They are unfortunately closed now. But one of the reasons I'm sharing this with you is because inside the masjid they had the mimbar of Salahuddin Ayyubi. This mimbar was actually built by the mentor of Salahuddin. Anyone know his name is? Nuruddin Az-Zingi. He is the one who commissioned the building of this mimbar. Now you have to imagine and appreciate this. He's a general in Sham, Syria. Jerusalem is occupied by the Crusaders. He says to his army, not only are we going to go and conquer Jerusalem, I have built a mimbar that is going to go inside Masjid Al-Aqsa. Talk about inspirational. In fact, there was 2 built. Yeah, there's a smaller one that was built as well, and that's placed in Masjid Khalil. We'll have a look at that. So this on the left here, this picture here, the old black and white one, is a picture of this mimbar. Now this mimbar was something else. They said that it didn't have one nail in it, nor any lick of glue. The way it was constructed was without any nails. Yeah, so it's a fine piece of art, and it was built with wood and ivory. Okay, so it was beautiful. Unfortunately, in I think it was 1969, there was this very evil man, Australian Zionist. He came inside the masjid dressed as a Muslim, and he had gasoline with him. What he did is he poured the gasoline all over the mimbar and he set it alight. A huge fire erupted, and the people there, the Palestinians, they told us that they believe that the Israelis, they turned off the water supply to the masjid. And so what they had to do is they had to go outside and see here, there's a well, there's 27 of these. They had to get buckets of water and drag it inside the masjid and try and put out the fire. But they could not salvage the mimbar of Salahuddin. It got burnt, and the remains are inside this library here. This library is literally on the, if you are facing Masjid Al-Qibli, the prayer hall at the back, is just to the right of it. You go inside this museum and you'll see just a few relics of this mimbar. Very, very sad, subhanAllah. So this is another picture at the top right hand side here, where they were trying to put out the fire. You can see it was a massive, massive fire. Okay, moving on. What do we see here? On the left hand side, you see here the supposed mihrab of Maryam alayhi-salam. In the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us فَانْتَبَذَتْ بِهِ مَكَانًا شَرْقِيًّا, that Maryam alayhi salam, she grew up in the worship of Allah, and she decided to seclude herself away from her family and friends to a place inside Masjid al-Aqsa, which the Quran says was Sharqiyya, on the eastern side. If you go one level below the masjid, one level down, you find a place on the eastern side which is closed off, which is supposed to be the mihrab of Maryam alayhi salam. Now that supposedly is the place where Jibreel alayhi salam visited her and said to her that I have bring you glad tidings of a child. And what she said to Jibreel was amazing. She said, قالت إني أعوذ بالرحمن منك. She said, I seek refuge in the incredibly merciful one from you. She saw a man inside that mihrab, and she was so shocked that she said, I seek refuge in Allah from you. And Jibreel turned around and said, hang on, I'm just a messenger from Allah. Don't ask Allah yani refuge from me. I'm just a messenger from Allah. He's the one who sent me to give you this news. So she said, how can I have a son when I have not been touched? Meaning I haven't got a husband. And he said, قال كذلك. He said, that is where Allah will do it for you. وَهُوَ عَلَيَّ هَيِّن. It is very easy for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to do this for you. And then after that, she became pregnant. When the pregnancy became apparent, she then left Masjid al-Aqsa and her family in that area in Jerusalem. She went outside of Jerusalem to a place called, anyone know? Where did she go to give birth to Isa alayhi salam? Yes, the Arabic is Beit Lahm, literally the house of meat. In English is Bethlehem. We went there as well, and there she gave birth to Isa alayhi salam. Okay, so this here is supposed to be the mihrab of Maryam alayhi salam. On the right, at the bottom here, see what the brother is praying here. This is supposed to be the mihrab of Zakaria alayhi salam. Zakaria alayhi salam also used to seclude himself in the worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and ironically enough the brother's name is Zakaria as well, but anyway, so this has been marked out in the prayer hall, which I showed you, Masjid al-Qibli, to be the mihrab of Zakaria alayhi salam. Interestingly, the word mihrab itself, they said it comes from the root of harb. Anyone know what harb means? War. Yes, war. So what is the connection? Mihrab, place of worship, and the word itself coming from the root of harb. Anyone make a guess here? Mihrab from harb. Mihrab is a place to worship Allah. It's not a place to go to war. Anyone know the difference? Anyone know the connection? Yeah? You gonna give a guess? Yeah? No? They said harb because this is a place where a person wages war against shaitan and his desires. Yeah? It's a place where a person grapples with the shaitan in the worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, learns how to discipline himself and to be disciplined against shaitan. This is supposedly the place of Zakaria as-salam where he was come. And it was here, the Quran says, that the angels came to him and they gave him that good news. وَهُوَ قَائِمٌ يُصَلِّي فِي الْمِحْرَابِ. In Surah Al-Imran, he was standing in prayer in his mihrab, asking Allah for a son. Why did he ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for a son? The Quran explains, إِنِّي خِفْتُ الْمَوَالِيَ مِنْ وَرَائِي. He said, I fear that my relatives after me. Now this is interesting because many of you may think Zakaria was asking for a son simply to enjoy having a son. You know, you don't have a child, you long for a child. In fact, that wasn't the case. He feared that his relatives that he would leave behind would not carry on the message of Islam. They were wicked. They wouldn't carry on the message of Islam. They wouldn't look after Masjid al-Aqsa. They wouldn't call the people to Allah. And so he wanted a son so he could raise him up to be righteous and take over after he leaves. Yes, this was the reason. So it is here that the angels came to Zakaria alayhi salam and said to him, you're going to have a son. Same as Maryam. He said, how can I have a son when I'm very old and also my wife is aqir, my wife can't have a child either. And the same response is given. They said, قَالَ كَذَلِكَ. In that way Allah is going to do it. وَهُوَ عَلَيَّ هَيِّن. And it is very easy for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So both the story of Maryam and Zakaria takes place in the same place. And the same message is being given to us, which is nothing is impossible for Allah. We think sometimes things are very difficult, they cannot happen. How is it going to happen? These two stories are both saying, listen, even though you may think something is impossible, nothing is impossible for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay, moving on now. there are supposedly, actually these have been confirmed, 2 graves of companions in Jerusalem. The first of them is here. This one is the grave of Ubadah ibn Samit radiyallahu ta'ala an. Anyone know the second companion who's buried inside Jerusalem? Anyone know? Shaddad ibn Aus. Shaddad ibn Aus radiyallahu ta'ala is also the second companion who will be buried inside Jerusalem, and their graves are very close to each other. They're near the western wall as well, actually. On the right here, have a picture of the brothers. They are in a place called Ariha. In English it's called Jericho. One thing interesting about Jericho, they said it is the lowest city in the world. It's supposed to be 350 meters below sea level. Okay. This place is important because it's supposedly the burial place of Musa alayhi salam. So here you have a place they call Maqam Musa, and they have a building and a masjid there, and supposedly this is where Musa alayhi salam is buried. One of the interesting things about Musa alayhi salam is that, you know, he wanted to enter Jerusalem with his people, but then the people said, we're not going to do it, we're not going to fight. So Musa alayhi salam was barred from Jerusalem with his people for how many years? 40 years. Okay. Musa alayhi salam wanted to go to Jerusalem so bad that he asked Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in a dua, oh Allah, allow me to draw close to it even as much as a stone throw away from it. And the Prophet ﷺ said that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala answered his dua, and he was allowed to die just outside Jerusalem. And in another hadith, he went to a place in Jordan, and from there, a Mount Hebel, which overlooks into Jerusalem, he stared at Masjid al-Aqsa, wanting and longing to go inside of it. And so this place is said to be the place where Musa alayhi salam is buried. So now you can imagine how many prophets have been here. I mean, we said in the last that it was Adam alayhi salam who built Masjid al-Aqsa. Then we learnt about Zakaria alayhi salam, Maryam, Yahya the son of Zakaria, Isa alayhi salam, and before that you have Musa alayhi salam. And in between that you have Suleiman and Dawood. There's so many prophets that have come here, subhanAllah. This picture at the bottom here, this is the Jummah prayer. After Jummah I took this picture looking outside, and they said on the Jummah about 3/4 of the whole of the Masjid al-Aqsa was full. So it means there must be, I don't know, 250,000 people there. Yeah, so you can see, mashallah, many people come. However, there is something also to mention which is a bit sad, which is generally speaking, the masjid does not get packed in salah. For Fajr and for Dhuhr, Maghrib, these salawat, the maximum we saw was about 3 or 4 rows. The rows obviously are very big, but the masjid was not full. And I asked some of the Palestinians, what are the people's levels of religiosity like practicing? And the answers I got were unfortunately very, very negative. Many of them said the people are far away from Allah. They do not pray their salah in the masjid. And generally speaking, what we saw as well wasn't good. I mean, I'll be honest with you, it was quite disappointing when you saw the sisters in particular, the way they were dressed. Unfortunately, subhanAllah, it's very disturbing to see the sisters there. Many of them wearing hijab, but very tight hijab, very tight clothing with makeup and perfume and so on and so forth. And when I left from here I was thinking to myself, we'd go there, we'll see, mashallah, people strong, practicing, so on and so forth. But what we saw, unfortunately, wasn't the case. And I asked the people, is this reflective of all of Palestine? And they said, yeah, this is worse than other places, but the situation is not good. The situation is not good. So, inshallah, when you go, you'll see this for yourself as well. This is underground, the first level down of the masjid. Interestingly, they said there are 6 underground levels to the masjid. 6 underground levels. So this is the first one here. This is supposed to be the place where the Prophet ﷺ tied Buraq. Yeah. Do you see I think there's a little ring there. It's supposed to be over here. This is just put there for the sake of it. It's not really the ring where the Prophet tied Buraq. But in the hadith of Isra wal Mi'raj, the Prophet ﷺ said in an authentic hadith, فَرَبَطْتُهُ بِالْحَلْقَةِ الَّتِي يَرْبِطُ بِهِ الْأَنْبِيَاءِ. That Buraq, this creature, he flew on top of this creature from Masjid al-Haram to Masjid al-Aqsa, and when he mounted off the animal, he said, and I tied him to a post which other prophets have also tied him to, as if to say, I am not the only prophet to have mounted this animal. Other prophets have come as well, and every time they come, they tie him at this post. This is supposed to be the place where the Prophet tied Buraq. Okay. Now, how do we understand these 6 levels of the masjid? Yeah. What you have to appreciate is that if this masjid has been built from the time of Adam alayhi-salam and is standing until now, it's not been in one structure. It's been built, sometimes been destroyed by people, sometimes been destroyed by earthquakes, so on and so forth. Then it's been rebuilt over and over again. So when you rebuild and it breaks and rebuild, this is how you get the layers. You get this. The oldest is right at the bottom and then the newest one is at the top. So this is how you understand it. Okay, now inshallah, I wanted to see if I could play this video. Oh, can I play this video? Okay, now I'm going to see if I can put the microphone near this. This is, as I told you, this brother here, he's in charge of the zakat collection of the masjid and the orphanage scheme they have, and also the sadaqah that they give as well. Oh, what's happened here? Yes.
Alhamdulillah, it's very good now you are coming here, because in Masjid al-Aqsa in dangerous time. You know the Zionists and the Yahud, they go inside every day. They're thinking they want to take the building down and to build the Ten Mount. But inshallah, this has never happened, because now we're all together. We're in one hand. From all over the world, we are together. And this is in here in Masjid al-Aqsa. This is Subhanallah, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Subhanalladhi asra bi'abdihi laylan min al-Masjid al-Haram ila al-Masjid al-Aqsa alladhi barakna hawla. So, to Jerusalem, you have come in hard times, And this year is the most worst year in my life I've seen it. For since the occupation, 1940.
He said that from October 2015 until now, he said from his experience has been the worst time in Palestine. The worst time. And partly this is because there have been many killings of young innocent Palestinians in Jerusalem. One subhanAllah happened recently, you must have seen it, came in the mainstream news over here as well. A young Palestinian boy was killed right outside one of the old city gates. Yeah, literally we saw the gate, it was the Damascus gate. And we asked the people about that, and they said, this is what they said. They said the soldiers, the Israeli soldiers, they have with them knives. And if they find a Palestinian who they don't like or something is causing commotion, they will kill him and they will place a knife next to him. And they said this is what happened with one of the Palestinian young youth there. So this is what he's talking about now. He's talking about the fact this has been the worst last 6 months ever since he knows.
1948 till now, this is most years. It's because every day they've been killing our children for no reason, for the very gold blood. And even one of the soldiers, when he killed the Palestinians, they kill him and he have the knife inside, they put it behind it. Yeah. They said they're trying to kill me and they lies. And everybody all around the world, they know these lies. So this is very hard, Palestine now in a hard time. But now when we meet a brother like you, we talk to him. Because you look at the media, many of the Muslims, they are afraid to come here because this is very dangerous. But no, it's very safe, alhamdulillah, as you see in the old city. Everybody want to help. But
do you know this little girl?
Now the media, I say you're going to be the media when you're going back home. You're going to talk about the Masjid al-Aqsa and how you're feeling and how the hospitality take for your brother here. And everyone, they have hospitality. Everyone you should bring next time, inshallah, 10 more people. Now you are 20. Next time, inshallah, you'll be 200. And the 200, 2,000. And that's, alhamdulillah, it's going like this. The brother Alim, he start. And alhamdulillah, inshallah, every month we're going to see Alim here. And other. Now, yesterday I've been with a group from Switzerland. It's Turkish people. It's been scary to come.
He said that what he wants us to do, the people that visited, is to be the media for the Palestinian people. And the way we can do that, he said, you go back and you tell people what you saw here and you encourage them to come. He said he's very happy because just recently, the first time ever, a group of Muslims came from Switzerland. Okay, from Switzerland. And alhamdulillah, whilst we were there were 4 groups from UK alone that came. Many of them from up north. I think there were 2 from London. And I asked one of the Palestinians, who from the west visits Palestine the most? He said South Africans and the British Muslims. He said these are the two that visit us the most.
They are coming, and now they are very happy. They said we are coming after 2 months, and the same things from Austria and from South Africa. And inshallah, one of the if you come here, inshallah, next time you could come in Ramadan. You could see people from all around, like Makkah and Medina. That's we want to be the Masjid al-Aqsa like Makkah and Medina. When you go to Hajj or Umrah, Masjid al-Aqsa, Masjid al-Nabawi, Masjid al-Haram. لأنه لا تشد الرحال إلا لثلاثة المشاهد المسجد الحرام ومسجدي هذا والمسجد الأقصى المبارك أولى القبلتين وثالث الحرمين الشريفين. So inshallah, this is a project with Alim. Jazahullahu khair. He worked hard to talk with the people and to come.
I just want to just explain a little bit more. The Sheikh was saying, he was saying afterwards as well, that the thing is, you know, when you Westerners come here, number one, Palestinians, they see you and they find strength because they realize that they're part of a bigger family. You know, they're Muslims all around the world, they care about them, they want to know about them, they will come to visit them. And he said that gives them a lot of strength. Also, he said, you know, when you come here, it becomes difficult for the Israelis to do what they want because they know that you're Westerners, you have a British passport, you're going to go back, you're going to talk, and some of you will take videos as well. So he goes that when you come here, you know, they find it difficult to do whatever they want. So he said, imagine if Masjid al-Aqsa became as busy as Masjid al-Nabawi, for example. It would be impossible for them to do anything, isn't it? There's thousands of Muslims there, how are they going to do anything, especially if they're from all around the world? So his plea and his request to the brothers and sisters in the UK is they need to come to visit them. Yeah, and this subhanAllah wasn't just what he said, many of the Palestinians said this. One of the interesting things we saw is after Dhuhr, there's one door, okay, which is always closed in the Aqsa, from the gates of Aqsa. This is only a door which can be accessed by Israeli guards. What they do is they open it after Dhuhr Salah, when people have left. And you find Jewish settlers, they come inside the masjid and they walk across, just where we are standing there, literally just walk past there, and they will try and look inside the masjid and look at the Dome on the Rock and so on and so forth. So what happens is there's a group of women there. They sit right outside the masjid. They call themselves al-murabitat, the garrisons. They're old women, subhanAllah. We saw them sitting there. And what they do is when the settlers come in, they start making takbir really loudly. And the Jewish settlers, they get scared and then they go away, okay? And sometimes the soldiers start to give them hassle and they will not flinch. They will stand up, they will start shouting, they'll start screaming and start making takbir. And these are the women defending the masjid. Imagine, yeah? We saw them, wallahi, we were so amazed because they were sitting there just laughing and joking. And then when we saw the settlers coming, they stood up, started becoming confrontational and they started making takbir really loudly. And then these people are very scared, they just run away. Yeah, this is what we saw, very scared, subhanAllah. Ala kulli hal. You can see here a picture of the brothers, they're playing with the Palestinian children football here. This is another site that you see, loads of children playing in and around the masjid. And literally outside the Dome of the Rock, we were playing football here. It looks nice, but after a while, two of these guys got into a bit of a fight, so we had to stop playing football. But subhanAllah, around the masjid, around the outskirts, there's actually people that live literally on the outskirts of the masjid, such that their window looks into the masjid itself. Okay, so most of these kids actually live inside the masjid. Okay, and one of the sisters, one of the mothers, she invited all the group to come and have lunch at her house. And we said there are 20 of us, and the house, subhanAllah, is tiny. So we thought, how is this? Maybe she's just saying it, just to be generous. So we said, it's okay, jazakallah khair. So next day she insisted again. The third day she insisted again. So khalas, we had to go. We went, 20 of us, and the women, she said, you sit inside, men, you sit outside. And through her window, she was passing food. Yeah. And subhanAllah, she made loads of food. And everyone ate, and then afterwards we spoke to her. And we said, tell us your story. SubhanAllah, you're living here, what is your life like? She said that I had 6 children, but my eldest son, he got taken as a prisoner by the Israelis. Then the second eldest one, he was killed as a shaheed. And then my husband, she said, he's disappeared. I don't know where he's gone. So SubhanAllah. Then she said the last of my children, the four children I had left, She said, I find it difficult to look after them because I thought they're going to go and do the same thing as their brothers did. They will also get killed or taken as prisoners. So I gave them to the orphanage because I couldn't bear to look after them and have that happen to them. But subhanAllah, this is such a sad story, and look what she's doing. She had a smile on her face, she was feeding us, she was not complaining and anything like this. Yes?
Where did you get money from?
Sorry?
Where did you get money from?
Yes, this is what we were wondering as well. The masjid, this man here, the one you're looking at, he is in charge of the distribution of zakat and for sadaqah. So when you go there, you'll find many people begging around the masjid. His advice is not to give to any of those beggars. They are professional beggars. Rather give the money to the masjid. They know the names of 8,000 families in and around Jerusalem who are in need of money, and they provide the money. Okay, and they also have the orphanage as well. And he mentioned that recently they took the young children from the orphanage on an Umrah trip, which they said was a very big gift for them. So now, this is how they look after the people there. And you find that the people are very close to each other. Everyone knows everyone, and they look after everyone as well. So this is the story of that sister. This picture at the top here, this is from that hotel I mentioned, Hotel Hashimi. From the rooftop, this is the sight that you can have. Dome of the Rock is right there, and along the side over here you'll see the Masjid Qibla as well. So if you want to go, this is a hotel which I recommend. Inshallah, anything else to mention? On the way back in the hotel, and the airport rather, we were stopped again. Myself, I wasn't stopped, alhamdulillah, to be questioned, but other brothers were, and they were stopped for about 2 hours. So they were stopped, they were asked questions, and also, subhanallah, the luggage that we took with us, suitcases, we locked them. We found them in UK. The locks had been broken. A little letter had been left. We had to break your lock and search your bag. Sorry for that. Yeah. So very nice of them to leave a letter explaining that they broke into our luggage. But to be honest, this is the maximum amount of difficulty we had to endure to visit Palestine. And the reason I'm telling you is because many of us have it in our minds that it's way too dangerous to go there and to visit Masjid al-Aqsa, isn't it? But when we went there, this was the maximum level. 4 hours having to wait in the airport on the way in and on the way out. Sometimes the guards will ask us, where are you from? If you're entering the masjid, we say we're from the UK, and that was it. They said, welcome. Okay, so this was the maximum level of difficulty. We had with us, this is the pusher here right next to the man, belongs to a brother and sister couple that actually came on the journey with us. They had a 2-year-old daughter, and they were with the pushchair everywhere going with us. Yeah, so you can imagine, yani, it's not difficult. Also, I mentioned I met a brother there from Dewsbury. He says, I come here every other year with my wife and children by ourselves, and because they see we're just a family, we don't get any problems at the airport either. Yeah, so this is the level of difficulty. So my brothers and sisters, the message really is, let us visit this place at least once, subhanallah. Ibn Umar radiallahu ta'ala, he used to make a journey from Medina to Masjid al-Aqsa just to pray 2 rak'ah, because the Prophet ﷺ said that Suleiman alayhimu-salam made a dua after building Masjid al-Aqsa, or rebuilding it, that, oh Allah, if anyone comes here only seeking to pray to you alone, let him not leave except that his sins are forgiven. In another narration, that he leaves like the day his mother gave birth to him. And the Prophet ﷺ said, and I hope that Allah will accept this dua. Because of this, companions like Ibn Umar would come all the way to the Masjid al-Aqsa, pray 2 rak'ah, not even drink a sip of water, and go back to Medina, just so they could fall under this hadith. Yeah, so this is the way of our leaders, yeah, to visit this place, and inshallah to benefit from it and to get the reward, and also to learn as well about our history as well. Inshallah, this is the end of the dars. Any questions? Anybody want to ask anything?
Middle Path Radio, your #1 online Islamic talk station.